What are we talking about again? Just kidding.
Hi, everybody.
It doesn't matter.
Welcome to Health Coach Tip Tuesday, where every Tuesday we talk about tips, tools, and resources to help your health coaching business. Today, I have our founder, Reed Davis, with us to talk about improved childhood wellness, the FDN approach. How are you doing today, Reed?
Fantastic. Thank you, Jess. Great to see you here and all the lovely folks.
Yes. Looks like we are streaming and ready to go. So we are on Facebook and YouTube. If you guys are joining us, let us know where you're joining from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. And today we're going to be focused on child wellness, and we're going to be giving away a very special diet check record sheet that all of our FDNs use, and you can use with your younger clients, right, Reed?
Yeah, they sometimes need some help, but the diet check record sheet is an amazing tool, especially if you're doing the metabolic typing diet.
Yes. So if you guys are looking to receive that, just put in the comments the word improve, and we will message that to you on Facebook or send it to you or any of the other places you may be watching this. But let's go ahead and get into it today. So when we talk about working with children, you know, there's it might be a little bit apprehensive as a health coach because you might not be sure how to kind of work with them or what to do with them. But as FDNs, we like to believe and have seen that we can really work with anybody, right, Reed?
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, kids are so easy to work with, you know, because you don't have to ask them for money. Their parents are already paying for it.
Yeah, well, they are more compliant in a certain sense, right?
Yeah, it's just, you know, just joking around there. But the truth is, kids are easier. They respond so quickly. You know, they haven't had years to deteriorate. You know, they don't have the downward spiral so much as the parents and you know, adults do. They usually can be tuned up pretty quickly if it's the kind of thing that's in our wheelhouse. You know, so it depends on the kid, obviously. But I've had amazing results with kids.
What kind of stuff have you been able to help with kids when you work with them?
You name it, ADD, ADHD, the asthma, skin conditions, you know, everything from earaches to butt aches, you know, just one end to the other. They're small people. The problem with kids, though, is that they can't really explain stuff very well because they don't know what normal is yet. They think, you know, and especially depending on how they've been treated so far up until you get to work with them, you want to be the last person that they need to see. You want to resolve that, what we call metabolic chaos situation. But I've had kids where, like I was working with the mom and she was doing great on her program. And she says, "Do you work with kids at all?" I said, "Kids, you know, I've raised 4 kids. I've been a football coach for 15 years. Yeah, I work with some kids. What's the issue?" And she said that her son was just 9 years old and was already being told by not doctors, but by the teachers at his school that he needed to be on drugs, that he had ADD, ADHD. Now, as far as I know, teachers aren't supposed to be diagnosing or treating anything, but they're telling this lady, you need to put your kid on something. He's overactive. He's poking around at the other kids. He's not paying attention to the teacher, and so on and so on. So she didn't want to do drugs. What can you do? We did a couple of tests for food sensitivities and some environmental sensitivities and things. Got him off of some foods, got some things out of the environment. And I give you my word, within 3 weeks, the principal of the school was calling me and saying, "What'd you put little Billy on?" You know, as if it was some magic pill. And, you know, that's not how we work. We don't use a take this or that approach. It isn't just about what supplements you're using or, you know, that's just a different way of thinking. We go for the root causes or get as close to it as we can. Some of them are very, very difficult to figure out. But with kids, sometimes it's easy. I've seen the exact same thing happen with asthma. Matter of fact, there was a kid on my football team, and his mom asked me, she was calling to excuse him from practice, like on a Wednesday night, and he can't make it to practice, but he's worried about can he still play in the game on Saturday. And I said, well, no, he can't miss the plays. You know, like we put in new plays every week, you know, offense or defense. We work on things, and you need to know what the calls are so that on Saturday you can be, you know, go out there in the field prepared. I said, no, I'm afraid he can't play Saturday if he misses practice. And oh, she's gonna be so upset. I said, well, what's the problem? What, asthma attacks. He's got asthma. I said,
Wow.
well, you know, what do you do about that? Oh, he just uses this inhaler, but when he's exercising, it doesn't really work that way. I said, well, why don't we try to find out where his attacks, what's triggering his attacks? And she was, I don't know, you could do that, you know? Yeah, so same thing. Run some labs. Turns out this kid is very sensitive to a number of things in his diet and environment, and so um, he never missed another practice. He never missed another game. He was one of our studs, we call him, you know, on the football team. Great, but he went on to have an amazing high school athletic career and never had another asthma attack. And the mom brought me his siblings, her husband. I had the husbands coming up to me at a game. I was an assistant coach on that team, but uh, you know, he thanked me, man. You just, you know, save the whole family kind of a thing. So kids are easy in some respects.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what a great story, too. You know, asthma is such a big, prevalent sort of issue that, you know, not just kids, but adults deal with too. And they don't realize that simple things like things in your diet or in your environment could be affecting that from getting better, right? And then you just quell it with medications and not really pay attention to what the root causes could be.
Yeah, and so many conditions, when they're not handled as a child, turn into worse. When they get to be a teenager, things are worse. When they get to be a young adult, things are worse. And I've seen uh, people in their 70s with, you know, colostomy bags and their anus sewed up because they never handled their digestive complaints for 50 years. You know, and and actually I've seen things that are just sort of digestive and, you know, immune system and nervous system issues in a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 year old that are only going to get worse if all you do is treat the symptoms. And it could literally take a lifetime before they start removing body parts, but they will.
Yeah, no, and it's always great if you can catch that when you're a lot younger. um, so I know that blood sugar can be a huge issue, not for, you know, for everybody, but especially for children. You know, and getting the right type of diet, making sure they're eating whole foods, not snacks, can be a really big thing. Uh, how would you kind of approach that with a child or even helping parents to do that? Because I know this can be kind of a family change also.
You know, that's well, blood sugar is a tremendous issue for everyone. There's only so much flexibility in your ability to handle blood sugar. So there's a built-in resilience. You know, blood sugar could go from, let's say, 90 to 140 and back down, no problem. That's quite a variation. You talk about resilience. Like if you tried to do that with let's say the pH level of your blood, man, pH has about this much resiliency. Your blood needs to stay at about a 7.4 on the pH. If it went up to 7.5, you'd be hurting. If it went down to 7.3, you'd be hurting. You know, like it's got a very, very narrow range. So there's all these homeostatic controls in place to maintain a very narrow blood pH level. But the tolerance and the resilience within blood sugar is much wider because you got to eat. Your blood sugar is gonna rise. It's called postprandial blood sugar elevation. Insulin is going to kick in. A lot of things in the mechanics there of that to consider. But there is a lot of resiliency. But if you keep stretching it and stretching it and stretching it, just like a rubber band, it's gonna get stiff and old, and it's not going to have so much resilience anymore. And you can start losing control. It's called glucose homeostasis. and it needs to be kept in check for sure, or you can have real problems. And so having said that about that's a little bit of the physiology. Sugar is kind of an evil thing. It's very addictive. It's as addictive as anything. And if I was a parent today of a younger kid, I would say, hey, you know, you might as well treat it like smoking because it's about that bad. You wouldn't let your kid get addicted to alcohol or tobacco or anything else that's harmful. And sugar isn't considered as harmful, obviously, as alcohol and tobacco, but it's just as addicting. And you know, again, you've got this resiliency that can handle some, but you could easily turn your kid into a diabetic if you don't watch out, or other problems. Um, and so you mentioned, you know, blood sugar levels. Was there something else about it you want to talk about, or, you know, as far as kids go, don't let them eat it because it's bad.
Well, yeah, and it seems like I remember growing up that there was just so many food products or snack products that were geared and marketed toward kids that are just filled with sugar, filled with, you know, terrible preservatives and things like that. And I've seen a change in parents over the years wanting to get more healthy snacks for kids, and there's definitely more options than there used to be. So, you know, it's something
Yeah,
that everybody needs to be aware of.
yeah, healthy snacks for a kid. It's called apples.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what a concept. You know, there's these things. There's raspberries, and so even with those, you have to watch blood sugar. But um, generally speaking, you know, um, kids, they you know, they're not that hard to work with. What I was going to say, go ahead and ask another question. Give me a second.
Okay. So you say how, you know, kids respond really quickly. So when you're working with a child, what kind of tests would you run with them? Are you running the same kind of 5 tests that you do with any client, or, you know, are you leaving something out or adding something in to work with a kid?
Well, you know, in adults, we run 5 labs, usually hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, nervous system. There's about 5 good labs that we to do a comprehensive an assessment when people show up with a lot of problems. And they've been to other practitioners. They may even have run a test with a doctor and been told, oh, your blood work looks normal. There's nothing wrong with you. Here's your chill pill. Well, we know there is something wrong. And with kids, when they're complaining, you can run labs with them too. I mentioned a few cases where just a food sensitivity testing, you can do environmental pollutants, hair tissue mineral analysis. You know, you can run a couple of inexpensive labs, but who cares what they cost, right? I mean, this is your kid. So, and you can get a lot of information, helpful information. And so I just probably wouldn't run the hormone test unless they had precocious puberty, which is where they're going through puberty really young, and that's happening today. You find a lot of estrogen in the environment, and girls are, I think, the average age of having their periods start is getting lower by a lot. And
Wow.
little boys are having a lot of problems with estrogen too. Um, and so, you know, but most of the time we wouldn't test hormones on a 7-year-old.
Yeah. So we'll leave the hormone test out.
Well, until they have some or are supposed
Yeah.
to have some, you know, you know, there shouldn't be a lot of estrogen and progesterone and testosterone. Although, you know, testosterone is important. You know, sometimes we find that even in young girls, like they don't get ADD, ADHD hardly ever. But if they do, they often have higher testosterone levels.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, but a lot of the stuff that's going on with children, you know, it is primarily physical, right? Because for the most part, they're not as stuck in their ways. They're not, you know, mentally or emotionally fixated on stuff. So when you say like it's easier to work with them, you know, when you're looking at physical aspects of what's going on with them, it is really physical aspects, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'll give you an example. I just remembered the idea of the neurotoxins. like these preservatives and food colorings and very unnatural, multi-syllable word ingredients. You have no clue what that is and what's it doing in my son's or daughter's cereal, and so that's part of the environment that's negative. It's very much negative signaling upon a child, upon a person, and upon their genetic makeup. um, so I had a client once actually, and she was a principal of some charter schools. So it was a charter school company. They had 5 different schools, and she was the principal of all 5. She spent 1 day a week at each school during the week, and they were private charter schools. Um, People were paying good money to have their kids go there, and she would sit in sometimes on disciplinary meetings. So she was at the school one a week, and she'd sit down to parent teacher conferences where the kid's having a problem, and they're bringing the parent in to go over it. And she started asking this principal, because I was teaching her a lot about natural sources of food and all this stuff, how it affects the nervous system and digestion and your immune system and what have you. And she started asking these quote unquote misbehaving problem kids, what did you have for breakfast this morning? And what percentage, just do you think, said some kind of crappy sugary cereal or Pop Tart or something?
Like 100.
Like 100%. 100% said they had nothing for breakfast, or they ate some crap, something convenient that looked, colorful and tasted sweet. And that was it. 100% of the misbehaved kids. So that's got to tell you something. Eh?
Yeah, food is such an important part of anybody's health journey and anybody's daily health regimen, but especially for children because they're still developing. And, it is the most important thing to start with any client, right? When we talk about how FDNs work with clients, we talk about dress. So we start with diet, and especially with kids, like what are they putting in to really develop themselves, to help develop their brains and the way they think and how they interact with other people. It's so important. That's why we wanted to give away today the diet check record sheet. So for those of you who have been watching with us, you can drop the word improve below and we'll send that to you. And if you guys have any questions, that you'd like for us to answer, go ahead and put them in the comments. And we're just, going to keep talking about improved childhood wellness and how FDNs approach that. I know one of the big things that when it comes to kids especially, but also for adults is, getting outside and playing and not being so tethered to a screen and playing video games or, sitting on a cell phone or an iPad. It's super, super important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good point you raised. When I was a kid, I grew up in Canada, and we had recess twice a day. So ours was an all-day school, I think from kindergarten on even. And every day we had recess twice a day. You had to go outside and play. And we played soccer, and we played kind of this hockey, it's Canada, right? So we played a lot. We made up our own games and all these things. But we're outside playing twice a day at school. And what do you think we did when we came home?
Went back outside.
Back outside. My dad made a skating rink in the backyard. The neighborhood always was after school every day. We're skating or we're playing hockey in the street. We call it street hockey or ball hockey. And then weekends, we went on hikes. We hiked outdoors, and we were all really healthy. I don't remember a sick kid. I don't remember a fat kid. I don't remember an ADD kid. I don't remember, any of that stuff. It just wasn't around back then. So today kids aren't getting outside. You want to know what? To this day, if I don't go outside and play for 2 hours a day, I feel like crap. Like my wife would tell you, Reed. He goes outside and plays 2 hours a day. To this day, that's a long time after kindergarten. and I still have to do it. And it's the best thing in the world for you. I start very early in the morning, and that way by 2 o'clock, I'm done. I can go outside and work in my garden, play on my tractor, clear brush on my property, or ride a bicycle, work out. I have my own gym. I have a trainer come over twice a week, things like that. Man, if you're not getting outside, getting some sunshine and fresh air and exercising, you're not as healthy as you otherwise would be. Absolute. Remember, we said signaling, so we're getting signaling. It's your genetic potential influenced or signaled by the environment and your lifestyle. And those signals are, positive or negative. There might be some that are neutral. But, when it comes to food, that's a two-edged sword, right? It can be a really great positive signal. All the vitamins, the minerals, the essential fatty acids, the amino acids, the antioxidants, the phytonutrients, the trace elements, all the things that are in food can be great signals, and exactly what's enriching and nourishing and nurturing your body, or they could be working against you. Too much stretching of these metabolic boundaries that we have, the resiliency that we have to maintain.
Yeah, and it's so important that you have that balance, we all have to work, and more people are working at home than they ever were. More kids are at home than they ever were doing school, but it's so important that you find that balance to go outside and have a little bit of a break. We do have one question from Claire.
Yeah, I read it here. So a child with constipation, eczema issues, you've done some testing and was treated for H. pylori, seemed successful, but it's often, and there's still some issues there. So first of all, thank you for asking your question. And I know what it could be like. I don't know that your child or, what all of their other problems are, but the investigation isn't over. It looks like you ran some labs there, which are helpful. But when you say treated for H. pylori, that's a big common error, we would call it, in approach. Because what most people running labs are doing is they're looking for something to treat. Now, the H. pylori, you said you ran HTMA, the food sensitivity GI map. Well, that was found on the GI map. I'm very familiar. Matter of fact, I'm just finishing up a new lesson on that test for our students. It's a good test, but it needs to be taken in context with a lot of other things going on. So it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first, the H. pylori infection, which is a bacterial overgrowth that you say successful treatment, or did the conditions, the ecology in the gut deteriorate to a point where H. pylori said, hey, we like it here, let's propagate, let's become a prolific infestation. Because most bodies can handle a little H. pylori. Why did this one become a diagnosable, treatable condition? Well, it's because of the overall environment. So obviously, Claire, I can't treat over the phone or offer any medical advice or any of these things, but I can just tell you that we take a much broader approach than just trying to find something to diagnose and treat. And the reason is that doesn't work. It only gives you limited results. And physicians, and not to their discredit in any way, they're trained to diagnose and treat. It's how they get paid. Because if they don't have a diagnosis to send to the insurance company, they don't get paid. Like, it's just kind of how it works. I mean, they can get some procedure codes out of a visit and maybe running some tests, but their job is to diagnose and treat, and we just don't. Number one, we're not doctors for the most part. We don't want any parts of that. We give a full monopoly to licensed physicians on diagnosing and treating. We look at as many markers as we can. In other words, we're more concerned with the dots than we're not as concerned with the dots as a physician. Like, they found a dot. Oh, look, treatable. Let's treat it. we in our profession connect the dots. So when someone had H. pylori, I'd want to know, did they have a positive indican? Do they have a dysbiosis? Do they have excessive oxidative stress? There's a marker for that. Do they have a congested liver because things now are polluted and they're clogging up the liver? Detoxification isn't working very well. What about their zonulin? That would be a measure for intestinal permeability. We have another marker, we call it histamine and DAO ratio. That's an important marker. We also have other forms of looking at the villi, what shape are they in, and all these other, again, there's a lot of dots, and our job is to connect them for a person in a way that it explains why they're showing up the way they feel. And often they do. Matter of fact, if you get enough dots and connect them right, it always explains why you feel so crappy. Here's why you feel so crappy. That's why FDN is so popular and successful. Here's why you feel so lousy. Most of our clients say, wow, no one ever else showed me like this before. Everyone else I ever went to just picked one thing and started treating it right away. Well, because that's how modern medicine was designed to work. And if that was a really serious, dangerous thing, you'd want them to do that. It's just not enough of the game. There's a whole lot more going on inside the body. So that medical system of diagnosing, treating one thing can be it could save your life. Damn sure could save. So you want that, but you want to also look at what are the other dots and how do I connect it all together? That's where our backyards kind of meet, and we don't overlap a lot, but we integrate quite nicely with that. So you want a doctor, if you're having, serious headaches every day for 3 months, they'll probably want to do a brain scan and look for a tumor. Probably might be smart to check that thing out. Those tumors can be a problem. But we would want to know, what are you eating? What time are you going to bed? How much exercise you do? What are all the stressors in your life and contributors to metabolic chaos that we could possibly identify? And there's a ton of them. And how do we eliminate those? And then, of course, as far as support, there's lots of products you can use in addition to a good metabolic typing diet and things like that. So we're always at the 30,000 foot view, just zeroing in when we need to observe what changes we might want to see. But we always go right back out and how do we have an effect with the lifestyle program on every cell, tissue, organ, and system. I know we might be running out of time, but I want to say, Jess, on the handout for today, the gift of the diet sheet, diet check record sheet, that goes along with, you want to visit mtdiet.com, mtdiet.com. And that's where that thing will end up being the most helpful to you. In and of itself, it's a tool, but if you're not trained to use it, you might still find yourself doing a lot of guesswork or wondering what the hell's going on. So you want to use that in conjunction with the metabolic typing diet at mtdiet.com. It's well worth doing. And you can do it with children if you answer the questions with them or even for them, but you should sit down together. You should take 25 minutes with a child. You can do it for yourself in about 15 or 18 minutes, and fill out that questionnaire there. It asks you it's not just a subjective symptom. It's actually all kinds of things about your physical characteristics, your dietary traits, your psychological traits, and things like that. It's a very sophisticated test developed over probably almost 40 years now of putting it all together. Over.
Yeah, it's a great tool. I feel like, it's definitely one of the things that FDNs use, and you can use it with any client because it is just a questionnaire. But I love the idea of sitting down with a child or sitting down with your client even to go through those, because sometimes it can be hard for somebody to describe properly what it is that they're feeling or how that food is affecting them. So, the download for today, if you input the word improve in the comments below. We will send you our diet check record sheet, and then you want to go to mtdiet.com to do those together so that you can have the best benefit with your clients. We've had some great people, coming on today and commenting. Thank you so much, Claire, for everything. We have, you have done the MT.
Did you unmute me now? Yeah, okay. I just want to say thanks. I'm always here for you. Anytime you need me, Jess, to get on and talk to folks. I look forward to it, and it just helps complete me as a person.
Well, thank you so much, Reed. Today it's been Improved Childhood Wellness, the FDN Approach. We've had Reed Davis, our founder of FDN, and make sure you come back and join us next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern for Health Coach Tip Tuesday. Thank you again so much, Reed, for joining us and answering some awesome questions about childhood wellness.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. See you next week.
Bye.